And I think we're going to start. I guess I should share my screen first, huh? That would help. Okay, everybody ready? Cool. Let's go. Let's see. Just seeing people come in from the waiting room. Welcome to those of you who have joined us. Okay, looks like everybody's in from the waiting room. So, hi everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for our webinar today on electric vehicle and charging and e-bike incentives in Rhode Island. We've got a packed schedule, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Just some quick intros. We at Green Energy Consumers Alliance are the ones hosting this webinar today, although you'll mostly hear from people at Rhode Island Energy and the Office of Energy Resources. But if you're not familiar with Green Energy Consumers Alliance, we're a nonprofit organization working across Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And our mission is to empower consumers and communities to speed a just transition to a zero carbon world. What that means is we run a series of programs and services that help people access various clean energy technologies. So today we're really focused on transportation, but we've also got programs with solar and renewable energy and heat pumps and energy efficiency in general. And we also do public policy advocacy work at the state and local level. But that's who we are. But today we're going to be talking mostly about clean transportation. There are a lot of friendly faces on this call that you'll hear from today, so we wanted to take a quick moment to just do some introductions. My name is Anna Vanderspeck. I am the Electric Vehicle Program Director at Green Energy Consumers Alliance. I'll do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning, but then I'll pass it to my colleague Caroline, who can go ahead and introduce herself now.
Hello, I'm Caroline. I'm an electric vehicle program associate here at Green Energy Consumers, and I work with Anna.
And then Office of Energy Resources team, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, absolutely. I can get us started. So my name is Sarah Cannavaro, and I am the administrator for the Clean Transportation Programs at the office. And I have a few colleagues here with me today. So I'll pass it to Steph, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah, and thank you guys so much for joining. I'm Stephanie. I also work in the Office of Energy Resources as the Electrification Program Manager, and it's great to be here today. I'll pass it off to Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Peterson. I manage the Drive EV and e-bike programs at the Office of Energy Resources, and I'll be speaking about the Drive EV and e-bike programs today.
I think that just leaves me. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Ryan Cody. I'm a senior program manager here at Rhode Island Energy, focused on electric transportation and demand response events. I'll be talking a little bit about our EV demand response program today. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And then had a little technical difficulty, but Danielle, you should be able to be on camera and talk now. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Danielle Jameson. I work for the Office of Energy Resources on climate change programs and policy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go through just some quick high-level logistics now, and then we'll dive right in. So just some Zoom basics. Everyone, all attendees are muted throughout the webinar, but we absolutely encourage your participation. So in your Zoom box or panel, you should see a Q&A, excuse me, option. Please definitely submit your questions throughout the webinar. We'll make sure to answer them at the end. And if we don't have time to answer them all, to answer them in an email after the fact. If you would like to use closed captions, please go to that same Zoom box and you should see a button that says CC on it. If you click on that, text will appear at the bottom of the screen, kind of like subtitles in real time as we speak. And we will share slides and a recording of this webinar after the fact. So if you miss a moment or want to go back and review something, we've got you covered. So today's agenda is busy. We'll start with Green Energy Consumers, giving a little bit of context of how all of this that we're going to talk about today fits in the Act on Climate. and we'll do a very brief EV 101 about some basic terms and benefits that you might need to know about to understand the rest of the presentation. Then we'll turn it over to the Office of Energy Resources to talk about e-bike rebates, electric car rebates, charging rebates, state-owned EV charging, as well as the lawn equipment program that Danielle's here to talk about. And then we'll turn it over to Rhode Island Energy to talk about the electric vehicle demand response program that they're running. And then at the end, we'll have time again for questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it right over to my colleague, Caroline.
Awesome. So to provide some context before we start, the Act on Climate was passed by executive order in April of 2021, and it was sponsored by Senators Doug Oyer and Representative Lauren Carson. Essentially, it created statewide emissions reduction mandates that are binding by law. So Rhode Island must achieve the following emissions reductions targets. So by 2030, emissions must be below the 1990 levels. And then by 2040, emissions should be 80% below the 1990 level baseline, with an overarching goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050. So how are we doing in regard to these targets? Well, I will discuss on the next slide a really awesome graphic that compares our statewide progress versus the Act on Climate mandates. What is awesome is the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management produces a greenhouse gas inventory report that assesses annual emissions. And this is evaluated by something called the Executive Climate Change Coordinating Council, or the EC4, which was a body established by the Act on Climate with the purpose of assessing, evaluating and integrating and coordinating climate change efforts. So yeah, on this slide, where you can interpret statewide emissions in response to targets that were established by the Act on Climate. As you can see, Rhode Island emitted 11.76 million metric tons of carbon dioxide in 1990. This makes up the 1990 baseline level. In 2020, we just reached 10% below these 1990 levels at 10.58 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. At this point in time, lowered emissions rates can really be attributed to the pandemic. And then emissions picked back up in 2021. We were bouncing back from the pandemic at this time. And in 2022, Rhode Island emitted 9.6 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. This falls below the 2020 mandate of 10% less emissions from the 1990 level baseline. So there is still a ways to go to reach the 2030 mandate of 6.47 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Oh yeah, we'll discuss some of those actions we're taking later in the presentation. So this graph is from the 2022 Greenhouse Gas Inventory Report. This was released in December of 2024, I believe. It breaks down emissions by emissions type. As you can see on the left, transportation is the largest emitting sector in Rhode Island, and this provides for almost 40% of all emissions. It's fitting in this presentation since we're talking about some clean transportation programs. So the state also experienced an 18.3% decrease in overall emissions rate since 1990. This is 32.6% above the Act on Climate's 2030 mandate. In the next slide, we'll segue into EVs. So we won't cover everything in detail, but we'll provide some of the reasons why EVs are awesome and efficient. So they're better for the environment, reduce health risks and harmful pollution, partly because they don't have a tailpipe, so they're not having tailpipe emissions. So EVs contribute to less air pollution and more healthy, breathable air. They're more efficient. They're cheaper to charge and maintain. There are less moving parts to break, and they're fun and fast on the road. And so there are two types of EVs that I'll briefly discuss. One of them are battery electric vehicles. So these are battery powered. Modern EVs have a range varying from 60 to generally 350 or so more miles. And can be plugged in to charge at home or at a public charging station. Some popular models are the Honda Prologue or Tesla Model Y. And then on the second part of this, we'll talk about plug-in hybrids. So these are powered by gas and electricity. Plug-in hybrids have a total range of 150 to 570 miles, and 25 to 53 miles of that are electric, and that comes from the battery. So plug-in hybrids, when used on local roads, or if you have a commute of anywhere from 30 to 40 miles a day, it is very probable that you can drive entirely electric. Some popular models are the Toyota Prius, the Honda Clarity, or the Toyota RAV4 Prime. Awesome. So yeah, EVs are cleaner than gas cars, and typically emit less carbon pollution than their comparable gas car. So and we'll have two images on this slide. There are two popular EVs, and you can see that they both emit much less carbon dioxide than the national average for trucks and SUVs. You might see miles per gallon carbon dioxide equivalent written on the slide. That refers to the idea that a gas car would need a specific fuel economy to generate an equivalent amount of pollution. How much CO2 or carbon dioxide an EV emits depends on the grid it's charged from, and how clean electricity is, and the vehicle's efficiency, which really just uses energy from the battery to move and power the vehicle. So different vehicles will have different efficiencies, meaning that some are cleaner than others. And an EV may even be cleaner and emit even less carbon pollution if it were charged by renewable energy, like a solar panel, or by clean electricity. So in this slide, we'll talk about how EVs have cleaner life cycle emissions than gas cars. And the phrase life cycle emissions refers to manufacturing process of the vehicle and time spent on the road or usage. So per this graph, the manufacturing process for an EV will emit slightly more emissions than that for a gas car. And this is due to the energy and materials that produce an EV's battery. But we can see that the biggest chunk of life cycle emissions take place when the vehicle's on the road. You can see that in gray. So you can see that EVs still emit less greenhouse gases than gas cars at the end of their lifespan. And what's interesting is an average gas sedan will meet parity with an EV after 22 miles on the road. So this is based on miles traveled. So that means that an average gas car will be much less clean than EV on the road for a much longer time that is on the road. Can move on to charging. So charging is important. On the first box, we have level 1. Level 1 is the slowest way to charge an EV. Battery electric and plug-in hybrids can be connected to level 1. They'll use a standard 120-volt outlet that you have in your home. Charging range is on the slower side, can be used at home, anywhere from 3.5 to 7 miles range per hour. Often, people who drive an EV or a plug-in hybrid will install a level 2 charging station, and will hire an electrician to install a 240-volt outlet. This is the same outlet that powers your washing machine. Miles range per hour is anywhere from 14 to 35. You can find these at home and at public charging stations. They're very efficient for people who commute or people who drive anywhere from 40 to 50 miles a day. It's easy to plug in your vehicle at night or whenever you're home. And we'll move on to DC fast charging. This is also called level 3. It uses a lot of power, as you can see, because it uses a 480-volt outlet. So this charges fast. Your vehicle can reach 100 miles of range in 30 minutes. So DC fast chargers are primarily at public charging stations. They aren't really installed at home because they're very power intensive. But there are a lot of charging stations available, both being level 2 and DC fast charging. And lastly, I want to guide you to our EV Finder. So on our Green Energy Consumers Alliance webpage, we have an awesome EV Finder. So if you're interested in driving electric or learning more about the different models that are available in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, I recommend this tool. You can filter and sort by different criteria, including like lowest possible cost. And you can see in real time which state and federal incentives apply to that specific vehicle. But yeah, that's all from our part. I'll move it to the OER. Thank you.
Alrighty, so if I can get my video up and run, there we go. Okay, I am just going to share my screen. And we can get started with our presentation. Okay, can everyone see my screen? The correct screen? Okay, awesome. Caroline's giving me the thumbs up. So hi everyone again. We're here today to talk to you about our clean transportation programs. For those of you not familiar, the Office of Energy Resources mission is to lead the state towards a clean, affordable, reliable, and equity energy future. Here at OER, we develop policies and programs that respond to the state's evolving energy needs while advancing environmental sustainability, energy security, and a vibrant clean energy economy. So we're going to get things started. I know Caroline already touched a little bit about this, so I'm going to skip over this slide. It was just a slide about the 2021 Act on Climate. So I'm going to get started here to talk about the rebate programs. And the first one that we have coming up is the Erica Nadowski Memorial e-bike rebate program. And Elizabeth is going to get us started with this program. Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. So the Erica Nadowski Memorial Electric Bicycle Rebate Program, often called e-bike program for short, is our rebate program offered for electric bikes. The program is named in honor of Erica Nadowski, a dedicated public servant, journalist, and clean energy advocate who passed away in 2020. This program, administered by our office, the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources, supports the adoption of e-bikes as clean alternative modes of transportation for short to medium distance trips. It launched in the fall of 2022. And we offer 2 different rebates. We offer a standard rebate as well as an income qualified rebate. So the standard rebate offers 30% up to $350 of the electric bike's purchase price, while our income qualified rebate offers 75% up to $750 of the e-bike purchase price. Next slide, please. Thanks. We have a program statistics tab on our website with a regularly updated dashboard showing the awarded rebate information. That is what this screen grab is from, so you can visit our website and take a look at it anytime. The e-bike program tends to fluctuate seasonally, so that's sort of where you see the ups and downs. The summer, of course, is the busiest time of the year. And over the lifetime of the program, we've awarded almost 1,000 standard rebates and about 500 income qualified rebates. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'll also be talking about the Drive EV rebate project. So this is a project that offers rebates to Rhode Islanders for the purchase of fully electric and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. The Drive EV project is administered by the Rhode Island Office of Energy and Resources in partnership with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, also known as RIB. This program launched in the summer of 2022 to help reduce transportation-related emissions and meet goals set by the Act on Climate. We currently offer rebates of $1,500 for new fuel cell and battery electric vehicles and $1,000 for new plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. We also offer rebates for used vehicles. It is $1,000 for used electric vehicles and $750 for used plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. We also have a Drive Plus program, which is available for income qualified applicants, which offers additional rebates of up to $1,500 on a vehicle purchase. But this varies dependent on if it's electric or plug-in hybrid. So we recommend taking a look at the chart on our website. It does detail which rebates are available for each part of the program. So for program restrictions, I want to clarify that all vehicle makes and models are eligible for the Drive EV project, but new vehicles must have an agreed upon value at or below $60,000 in order to be eligible, and used vehicles must have an agreed upon value of the vehicle of $40,000 or less to be eligible. The vehicles have to be purchased from Rhode Island dealerships. We do have out-of-state exceptions on a case-by-case basis. The vehicles must be registered in Rhode Island. The application must be filed within 120 days of the purchase or the lease, which I just want to highlight is different from the tax season. A lot of folks get that mixed up because of the federal tax credit. But this rebate is an application filing within 120 days of the purchase or lease. And for leased vehicles, the lease term must be at least 24 months in duration. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also have a program statistics tab for the Drive EV project, like the bike program that is on our website. We update this regularly. The Drive EV project awards a lot more steadily throughout the year and has overall increased in the number of applications awarded over the program lifetime. You can see the trend upward. It has sort of consistently grown. Over the program lifetime, we've awarded more than 2,000 rebates, including about 200 Drive Plus rebates. And the most common vehicle makes for applicants so far have been Tesla, Chevrolet, and Hyundai. Thank you. I'll be passing it off to Steph to talk about our charging programs that are currently available.
Awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm Steph, and I manage our PowerUp RI rebate program. Next slide, please. So our office, in collaboration with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, launched the PowerUp RI rebate program in August of 2024. This program encourages residents and landlords to install EV chargers within their homes or residential properties. And by offering these rebates that are tailored for residential properties, we seek to boost the adoption of clean transportation, reduce transportation-related emissions, and foster environmental sustainability in alignment with the Rhode Island's Act on Climate, which Caroline has touched on before. So our rebate amounts differ between if applicants are standard or are income qualified applicants, and if electrical upgrades are needed during the installation, as Caroline touched upon before with the different EV charger power levels. So you did have your level 1, which is just a standard outlet. But then for our level 2 chargers, in order to be installed, they do have to be plugged into that 240 volt outlet. So that would qualify as an electrical upgrade. And then this chart just breaks down the rebates that we provide. So a standard rebate with no upgrades needed is 50% up to $350 for purchase of a charger. If electrical upgrade is needed, it is 50% up to $700 with the purchase and installation of the charger. And then our income qualified portion offers 75% up to $500 or up to $1,000 if electrical upgrades are needed during the installation. Next slide, please. So this is just to talk about some of the application requirements and the process. Applicants can reside in a single family or multifamily unit dwelling with less than 4 units. And if you are a renter installing an EV charger at home, you have to get a signed letter from your landlord that approves the installation of this charger, or landlords can apply to this program by themselves if they plan to install a charger at their residential properties for their renters who reside there. For applicants, they must own or lease a battery electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Again, landlords are exempt from this requirement, and these vehicles must be registered in Rhode Island. And then I wanted to touch upon our EV charger eligibility. Only level 2 240 volt chargers are eligible, and these chargers must be Energy Star certified, and they must be purchased new from a retail store, online, or in person, and they must be installed by a certified electrician within the state or from any other state. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Rhode Island since we border a few other states. Next slide, please. So this program is relatively new. It's only been around for around 6 months. So we do have limited data at this time. But as you could see, November and December have been our biggest application pools so far. But we have seen a steadily incline within the program approvals. And we've seen a lot more applications coming through recently. So far, the program had a total funding of $880,000, and we have awarded $69,651 so far. Next slide, please. So that was just a brief recap of our home charging programs, and we also have state-owned electric vehicle charging infrastructure all throughout the state. I wanted to touch upon our Lead by Example executive order. Our office actively supports our Lead by Example team by installing charging stations on state properties and assisting with the procurement of light-duty state vehicles. The efforts outlined in this executive order mandated by Governor Dan McKee that 200 charging stations on state property must be installed by 2030, and that additionally 25% of light-duty state fleet vehicles must be zero-emission vehicles by 2030 as well. These mandates align with our act on climate to reduce transportation sector emissions. Next slide, please. Currently, OER manages 72 charging stations on state properties with 106 charging stations in the development stages. Also, this year, effective January 1st of 2025, our office implemented a new electric vehicle charging station cost recovery plan in accordance with Section 42-140-11 of the Rhode Island State General Law, which I will touch upon in the next slide. Effective January 21st, our office implemented charging fees on our state-owned electric vehicle charging stations, which you could see outlined on the map. To the right, our green charging stations are stations that are available today, and then the brown pin dots are stations we hope to be installing in the future. So all of our charging stations on state properties have fees associated with them. Our level 2 stations charge 28 cents per kilowatt hour, and our level 3 stations are 39 cents per kilowatt hour. We chose this fee by doing some research throughout the state and our neighboring states to try to find a middle ground while still not penalizing people for having electric vehicles and to continue to push for electric vehicle transitions. With these fees, we also have an idle fee, which is something we've seen a lot of other charging stations have as well, to encourage vehicles to move out of the spot once their vehicle is fully charged. So for our level 2s, we charge 25 cents per minute after 4 hours of continuous occupancy. And for our fast chargers, it's 35 cents per minute after 1 hour charging of continuous occupancy. We chose these respective times because most vehicles can charge fully or up to 80% respectively at these stations. And then I will pass it back to Sarah to talk about our federally funded programs.
Great. Thank you, Steph and Elizabeth, for doing that. I just wanted to quickly touch upon these federally funded programs because most of you have probably heard us speaking about the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, which here we actually had it broken down into 2 phases. The first phase of the program required all the states to install electric vehicle charging stations along the alternative fuel corridors, which for us was just I-95. So we did that. We installed a total of 4 chargers, 2 at the Ashaway parking ride location, and then we did 2 additional fast chargers at the Warwick location. This completed our first phase of the program. And for the second phase of the program, we had recently launched it in November of last year. We currently had it open for request for application. And we had about $10 million in funding available for a competitive program. But with the new administration coming in and some executive orders that were recently signed, we had to pause the program at this time. We do have a banner on our web pages that have the information on that, and we hope to update everyone as soon as we have more information from the Federal Highway Division of Administration. So we will keep everyone posted, and the same applies for what we have here, which was CFI. It's the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant Program. This was actually a grant that we had applied for last year. We had quite a few municipalities involved in the grant, and it was also for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations across the state. And that program was also paused as well due to the executive order But we will keep everyone posted as things continue to develop, and we hope to have some updates soon. All right. And then we know I have a slide here with our contact information, but these are just the girls again that have the transportation programs. And now I am going to segue to Danielle here, who's going to speak to you guys on the electric leaf blower rebate program. So Danielle, thank you.
Hi, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so as Sarah mentioned, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the electric leaf blower rebate program. Next slide, please. So the electric leaf blower rebate program is available to professional landscaping companies in Rhode Island. And they could purchase electric battery powered handheld or backpack leaf blowers to receive a rebate. And similar to the Drive program, the leaf blowers must be purchased in Rhode Island or from a retail store that is located in Rhode Island. And then I have here the rebate amounts. So we have a standard rebate, which offers $1,000 or 50%, whichever is less of the purchase price of an electric leaf blower and 2 additional related batteries. And then we have a high asthma rate increase rebate, and that would be an additional $250 for any landscaping businesses that are located in Central Falls, Pawtucket, Providence, Westerly, or Woonsocket. We can go to the next slide. And then for anyone interested in applying, the way that works is a landscaping company would purchase their equipment, and then they would head to our GOV and apply via our online rebate application and submit all of the required documents. There's not many. We essentially ask you to upload a copy of your receipt and a copy of your license to verify who you are and things like that. And then after that all goes through, it comes to us, we approve it, and then you would receive your rebate in about hopefully 4 to 6 weeks is what we estimate. So anyone interested in applying could visit electrifylawns.ri.gov. You could scan this QR code that I put here as well. But that is essentially it. I think I have one more slide, but it's just my contact information. If you have any questions about the program, you could send me an email, give me a call. Be happy to chat. And I think that is it for OER slides.
Yes, and I'm just jumping in to share the slides for Ryan, which I'm hopefully doing correctly. Can you see them?
Looks good, Anna. Thank you.
Take it away.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Pleasure to be here today. Again, my name's Ryan Cody, and I'm going to be speaking on our Connected Solutions program and more specifically on our EV demand response program. So if you could please go to the next slide. So if you're not familiar with Connected Solutions already, this is one of the tools in our toolbox to help keep our electricity grid running smoothly, especially during peak times over the summer when a lot of us are using the most electricity to cool our homes. Connected Solutions has multiple tracks. So the first being the residential and small business track, and then we also offer demand response programs for commercial and industrial customers as well. I won't be speaking on that today, just really focused on residential and small business, but as you can see under that, there's 3 different pathways, we call them, to participate. So the first is a smart thermostat program where you can enroll your HVAC system and smart thermostat if you have them. And that allows us to raise the temperature in your home a few degrees during the summer months to help bring down the electric demand from your home. Separately, we have a battery energy storage dispatch program that allows us to tap into some of your stationary batteries that you might see. So something like a Tesla home battery, for instance, and allows us to tap into that. And then lastly, and what I'll speak to today is our electric vehicle charging response program. So this is a new program just came out this past year, and we're really excited for it. So I will mention all of these programs today are voluntary. So we rely on, encouraging our customers to reduce energy during those peak demand times and help us respond to events. So each of these also has an opt-out portion as well. To participate in any of these programs, you do need to be a Rhode Island Energy customer, obviously, and you do need to be on a qualifying rate class. So that would include our A16, A60, and C6 for small businesses. So you can find out more about our different rate classes on our website. I won't get too in the weeds on that. Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so how does the EV demand response program work? So you can apply on our website, and I don't know, Anna, if you're sending the slides around after. We do have a link. It's chargingrewards.com/road-island-energy-EV. But there you can find all of the different qualifying technologies for the program and apply. Once you've signed up, either with a qualifying electric vehicle or level 2 charging station, basically the program kicks off each summer starting June 1st and lasts until about September 30th. So it's a summer peak program. And for signing up, you'll receive a $50 incentive for your enrollment. And then at the end of each season, a $20 incentive for participating in the program. So, and typically that's paid out in the fall or by December. So, so that's about $70 each year for participating. So I mentioned this is a summer peak type program. So the way it works is we'll provide notice, typically at least 24 hours notice for when we expect a demand response event to kick off. And so during that time, once you've enrolled, we'll be able to actually delay your charging to your vehicle for up to 3 hours. This allows us to bring down the energy consumption and help our systems maintain their ability and not see those peak events as much as we would otherwise. The events in total, we see about 60 events, no more than 60 events each summer will be called. And like I said, they typically last about 2 to 3 hours and are traditionally around the hours of 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. As I mentioned, we'll pause your charging automatically, and the customer always has the ability to opt out of participating at any time. So if that window didn't work for you specifically on that day, you would just opt out for that time. There's no requirement to participate in any single event. We just hope, the way we look at it is like this is a team effort, and the more folks that participate and sign up and participate in events, the less energy we'll be consuming during those peak times. So that's kind of the way we look at the program. Next slide, please. So on the eligibility requirements, a few things. Must be a Rhode Island Energy customer on a residential or small business rate class, as I mentioned. You do need an approved EV or EV charging station. So, and those need to have a Wi-Fi connectivity so that they are able to communicate back to our systems. And those providers are listed below. I can go over those in just a moment. And you need to be able to agree to allow us to briefly pause your charging during those peak energy events. The enrollment process, as I mentioned, is on our website. You can see all of the different providers here as well. So, excuse me, currently we support Tesla vehicles from models 2014 and above. And then on the charging station portion, we've got ChargePoint, which is popular. Emporia, Evo Charge and Wallbox, and these are all level 2 home charging stations. So, right now we do support Tesla. Primarily, we are working with our vendor to onboard more OEMs as time goes on. So we're hoping in the near future to allow for more makes and models to be eligible. All right. And one thing I do want to note too is you can enroll more than one vehicle per household. So if you're a multi-EV home, that is possible as well. Next slide, please. That'll pretty much wrap the EVDR program up. Happy to answer any questions, and you've got my contact information here as well. Feel free to reach out. And then we also have a customer service line just for this program, rienergy@energyhub.com. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to invite everybody to come back on camera because I see we have a couple questions in the chat. There's a couple questions about two-wheel electric vehicles. So basically electric motorcycles and scooters and things like that aren't e-bikes and aren't EVs. OER team, can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for the question. So right now the programs are very specific, like towards either just the electric like vehicles or the e-bikes. Not to say that this is something that we can't look into the future. I think it's a great suggestion, and our team will definitely look into it. And I did see that someone else did share some information as to what other states are doing for this. So thank you so much for sharing that. We will definitely take a look at that and see what we can do.
And then I see one more question, and this is a call to everybody. If you have questions, please definitely put them in the chat. But this one is about e-bikes in winter. And I'm wondering, Elizabeth, are you the right person to talk about how to safely ride an e-bike in the winter in New England?
Hello. Yes, I'm happy to. I don't just help with the e-bike program. I actually have an e-bike myself. I've had it for a couple of years now. I'm super happy with it. So in my experience, it pretty much follows the same rules as a standard bike. So when it comes to cycling in the winter time, it would vary depending on your area and really how icy the roads are. So if the roads are very icy, you may need some kind of tire studs or something like that. I believe you can specialty order them or buy them. I have not done it myself, but I do think that there are manufacturers who do make snow tires for e-bikes. But I think it would take a little bit of digging. But for the most part, around here, the roads stay pretty clear. As long as they're salted and clear, then you should be good to go.
And I'll add, for anybody who's curious about electric vehicles in wintertime, we have a whole webinar that we did about that a little while ago, which is available on our YouTube page. So if you've got questions about that, we've got an hour of answering questions just about that. I actually have one question for the OER team about the federal funding, which is what is the best way to stay updated on the status of NEVI Phase 2 and the Community Fueling Infrastructure Grant? Is it just like refresh the website? Is there a newsletter? If people are curious about that, how should they stay in the know?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to keep the websites as updated as possible. So we're constantly doing updates, but I would say that the newsletter is probably the best option as well. We were working to send a newsletter out. OER had already one that went out a couple days before. We had actually paused the programs. That's why we didn't do another one. But we are working to send one out pretty shortly. But the website is always probably the best bet to get the latest updates.
Got it. And if people go to the website, can they find out how to subscribe to that newsletter? Or is that?
Yes. So
Okay.
It's right on the webpage. And I see Steph just dropped it here as well on the chat. So I know if you want to share that afterwards, that would be great. But it is right on our main website. Yeah, there's a click here button for sign up for the newsletter.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't see any more questions. Any of our panelists, is there anything else that you would want to add or questions you want to ask each other? If not, I can share our last two slides and give everybody 10 minutes back to their day.
I've got a selfish one for maybe Stephanie and Sarah. So I'm just curious on the PowerUp Rhode Island program. So I know it's $350 if you don't need any electrical upgrades. So my home, I've been looking to do this now, and I've got the 220 already available, but it will need to be run through the wall and installed in the garage. So would that qualify for as an electric upgrade, or do you see that more as just servicing the station? So just curious what to expect on the rebate front there. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great question and something that Sarah and I talked about before. So anything that touches the electrical panel would qualify as an upgrade. We're pretty lenient since we have some funding. So yeah, anything that, as long as the electrician service receipt has a description of the work that he ran the wiring, that would qualify. Again, it's on a case-by-case basis, but that has qualified. So
Great, thanks, Steph.
We've had a couple more questions come in the meantime here. I'll start with one that asks, are there any initiatives that would pool together regional resources for these types of programs in case the basically federal funds continue to not be available? For some reason, I can't hear you, Sarah. Can other people hear Sarah? Just me then. Carry on.
Okay. I'm like, wait, well, I didn't touch anything. So to answer that question, I think this is definitely something that we're in clear communication with the other states. Like obviously we were all working on these national programs, like such as NEVI, as well as like the CFI grant. So we're all trying to be in coordination with each other. So I wouldn't put it past like doing something like on a regional level, but it's just too soon to speak on that right now. So
Another question just came in. How do I find out what Massachusetts car dealers can be used by a Rhode Islander?
I can go ahead and answer that one. So we do out-of-state exceptions on a case-by-case basis. So we encourage people to reach out if you have a specific dealership in mind. We just require a proof of the sales taxes as well as the reasoning for purchasing out of state. So like if the model that you're looking for is not available in Rhode Island, that is something that we can usually grant an exception on, especially in the case of things like used vehicles. So just reach out. We're happy to talk about it and make sure that you're able to get the vehicle that works best for you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth. Is there not a list of pre-approved ones that are just right over the Rhode Island border on the Drive rebate website?
Used to have one, but we've changed it to case by case as it's sort of been unclear, how many dealerships, how many, that kind of thing. So that's why we just have people reach out and check about it.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Thank you. There's one last question here, which OER and Rhode Island Energy, I'm not sure if you can, but the question is, please comment on McKee's proposed EV road use tax. I'm happy to comment on that from Green Energy Consumers' perspective, but I wanted to offer the opportunity to both of you. I'm not sure what the rules are here and whether you can comment or not.
yeah, I think I can get us started. And unfortunately, I just can't comment on this. It's a current budget item. It's something that's currently in legislation, so we can speak on that.
Yeah, similarly, I wouldn't add any comment from Rhode Island Energy's perspective. On a personal basis, I'm hopeful that there's some room to negotiate the fee a little bit. Just comparing to other states, again, my personal opinion, it felt high, but I haven't been involved with it, so excited to see where things go, and hopefully there's some opportunity for further discussion.
Well, thank you both. I will say we are literally about to publish a blog post on this topic because it's obviously one that matters a lot when we're wearing our advocacy hats. The sort of too long didn't read of that blog post is given the fact that transportation is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Rhode Island, we have a mandate to reduce emissions. Emissions are not falling fast enough. It really doesn't make sense to do anything that disincentivizes switching to the technologies that we need to meet that emissions reductions mandate. So we definitely oppose assessing an extra fee on electric vehicles. And we recognize that we're in a world where for a long time now, the revenue that we have from the gas tax and many of the other ways that we pay for transportation have not kept up with what we need just to maintain the current system as it is, not even to speak of transitioning to one that is greener and cleaner. And that's talking about electrification and public transit and more biking and walking and all of that. So the conversation about how to fund transportation adequately is much bigger than just gas tax and EVs. And I think that gets lost in the conversation a lot. So in the blog post that we're publishing, we talk about what other states are doing and some other ideas that are on the table that are a little bit more fair and follow the principle of like, let's make what you're paying proportional to the harm that you're doing or the resources that you're using. So there's lots of different tools on the table and lots of different ways of looking at this question. So strongly oppose this particular proposal, have lots of ideas, taking one step further out from this very specific and often politicized question. So look out for that website. Look out for that blog post. We'll send it out as soon as it's public. So with that, I will just share our last two slides here, if I can find them. I'm contractually obliged to share this slide, which is we are a friendly local nonprofit. We love making content like this available for free so that people can understand how to navigate all the different incentive programs out there. Obviously, we're putting our own resources into this, so if you are willing and able to donate to us, we would be very appreciative. The link for that is greenenergyconsumers.org/donate. Any donations go towards work like this, our public policy advocacy work, our solar programs, lots of good stuff. So the link is right there, and thank you very much. And then if you want to engage with us a little bit more, particularly on the transportation front, there's lots of things you can do. We've got a quarterly newsletter where we sort of update folks on everything you need to know in the transportation space. We've got a pledge that you can sign. We've got the EV Finder that Caroline mentioned. We've got a community Facebook group of EV owners and people who are curious about electric cars. So if you want to ask a question to an actual EV driver, you can do that. And we sort of share news articles and just try and learn together. And that's on Facebook. And then we're also on all the socials if you want to follow us there. But I'll just end again with my and Caroline's email addresses. If you have any questions, feel free to email either of us. We'll also send out an email probably tomorrow with the recording, the slides, and all of the links that were mentioned today or shared in the chat. So thank you all again for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday, because today is Tuesday, not Wednesday.
Thanks so much.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye.